Hello and welcome to 3 Minute Gaming. I'm Nathan, and today I'm going to tell you if this game's worth their time and bandwidth.
Today's game is Prince of Persia 2008. In this reboot of Prince of Persia, there's no Prince and no Persia, just Nolan North. Is this series refresh worth checking out today? Let's find out. Prince of Persia is a parkour platforming game paired with a collectathon, with its emphasis on sandbox traversal, gorgeous visuals, and more open world style environments. This is not Yuri's Sands Prince, that guy's out, and instead we have Nolan North, who loves talking about thick carpets. After getting lost in a sandstorm, he runs into Elika, a princess whose kingdom is overtaken by dark corruption via an evil god, and whose father seems to be succumbing as well. The only hope to trap that evil god is for Elika to purify the fertile grounds in 4 unique zones, which is going to involve a lot of platforming and murdering some bosses who live there. Prince of Persia 08 differs in many ways from Sands of Time, primarily in its structure. While the older games were linear with only Warrior Within dabbling in some light pathway choices, this one is completely open world with multiple zones to visit and several paths to get through them. The first time you visit an area will be covered in corruption, limiting the locations you can go, but once you kick the boss out and Elika purges the evil, it'll be restored and filled with collectibles. See, this game is actually a giant collectathon. After purging an area, you'll need to explore the zone and gather as many light balls as you can, as those unlock new powers for Elika, which will allow you to both traverse new areas as well as getting more light balls. The prince needs them balls if he's going to be fertile. At least that's what I think this game's about. Anyway, parkour has also been simplified, as most traversal is tied to 1 or 2 buttons. This makes the platforming easier generally, but you'll still screw up, leading to the game's other controversial mechanic, Elika saving your stupid ass. They just eliminated dying completely from the game. Make a jump badly and Elika will restore you to the last stable ground you were on. Fail combat and the enemy will gain hit points, but you'll be back fighting again. It's a necessary concession given how frustrating the game would be without it, and it fits the new flow, as this game's more about being a fun platforming sandbox where the challenge is route planning and execution rather than an extreme dexterous button press like Sands of Time. Combat is one-on-one only and is very weird. Basically, you string combos together from a variety of face button moves, with enemies often putting up shields of some kind that require a certain button to pierce. Basically, you do your combo, then block or guard while the enemy goes, and you go again. And honestly, that's basically this whole game. The prince is now Banjo, Elika is Kazooie, and both need to get as many collectible objects as possible. So what do I like about Prince of Persia 08? Well, the open world concept is actually pretty neat, with you basically playing a crazy parkour pair and everything around you being this insane, huge playground of awesome stuff to do, climb on, swing off of, and so on. It's a joyous sandbox of fun. Additionally, the game looks absolutely fantastic. Even on its original systems, that cell shading paired with the vivid color palette is eye-catching, and combat is very flashy and visually engaging. And lastly, I actually did like the stripped-down controls, as this was just taxing enough, but made the real challenge planning out parkour routes to trickier orbs, while also solving micro-traversal puzzles along the way. When it comes to the bad, the combat here for looking awesome is really just kind of a build-your-own quick-time event, with the same combos working on almost any enemy, and the whole thing getting tired really fast. Additionally, I'm a bit mixed on this game's story. While I really liked Elika, I found Nolan's prince 50% charming and 50% cringe. And while I appreciate the ending being subversive, it doesn't really fit the whole theme of the game, plus the real ending's behind DLC and still a cliffhanger. And lastly, collecting orbs is basically the game's entire point, and while it does gel well with the sandbox concept, the amount required to continue feels slightly too high between upgrades, and that leads to dull cleanup tasks in already pilfered areas, which murders the pacing. As you know, I rate games here on a 3-point scale: must play, maybe consider, and don't bother. And revisiting this Prince of Persia game was interesting. I remember playing it back in 08 and really loving it, and replaying it, I will say I didn't love it as much, but its hooks still did get into me, and I had a perfectly fun time. It's ultimately a platforming playground mixed with a collectathon and some really mid combat, and based on your tolerance for these types of games, your mileage may vary. Still, if you like parkour platforming in a big sandbox, this game has many hours of gorgeous Prince-related fun for you. And that's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching. What do you think of the Prince of Persia 08 reboot? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Are you annoyed that it never got the sequel it was supposed to get? So the story's just never going to be done? I know I am. Let me know in the comments regardless, and then go out there and give Prince of Persia a look.